Would you take a risk for love even if it meant the danger of a lifetime? The vast expanse of the auction house felt suffocating, its high ceilings and polished marble floors reflecting the icy stares that settled on Sophia Martins like shards of glass. The dim, cool light filtered through expansive windows, casting stark, angular shadows that sliced across the room's urban elegance. Each footstep echoed on the marble as Sophia approached the podium clutching a slender folder, her auburn hair catching a glint of pale blue from the overall glassy coldness. She held the family heirloom pendant carefully, the delicate chain entwined around her fingers, the gem catching fleeting sparks of crimson, a silent herald of the secrets it hid. Across the room, the Cleanton austere man in an impeccably tailored suit fixed her with cold eyes, the kind that measured value with ruthless detachment. "Miss Martins," his voice cut through the murmurs, sharp and unforgiving, "these claims are far-fetched at best. Antiquities require provenance, not fanciful stories. You must understand, sentiment doesn't set market prices." Sophia's breath caught. The air felt suddenly dense, every heartbeat pounding wildly against the oppressive silence. She tried to steady her voice, a slender thread weaving through the thick tension, the pendant's origins connected to the Russo lineage. "Our research aligns with historical records." "Enough," he snapped, his hand slicing the air dismissively. "We deal in artifacts, not fairy tales. I won't waste my time on relics without solid proof." A ripple of murmurs swept through the room's small smirks and sidelong glances. Sophia's cheeks flushed, a surge of heat contrasting with the stark coldness enveloping the room. Her grip tightened involuntarily around the pendant, its weight anchoring her yet highlighting her vulnerability. Her colleagues avoided her gaze. Their silence was loud, a tacit alliance with the client's rebuke. The walls seemed to close in, the shadows deepening as if swallowing her whole, the red hues from the pendant casting a mocking glow on the polished table. She forced a nod, swallowing the sharp sting of rejection. Each whispered speculation, every subtle glance, carved away at her resolve. The flickering chandelier above threw fractured light around her, a kaleidoscope of brilliance and fracturing shadows mimicking the turmoil within. Silence filled the void she left behind as she stepped away, the low sigh of the audience mingling with the distant hum of the city streets below. In the cool lobby, far from the biting glare, Sophia's fingers brushed absently against the pendant resting against her heart, a heartbeat pulsing with unspoken questions and latent truths. Outside, the city thrummed under dusk's embrace, a labyrinth of shadowed alleys where danger and mystery intertwined, a fitting backdrop for the journey that was just beginning. The scent of rain hung faintly on the breeze, and beyond the darkened streets, a single red rose lay tucked against damp stone, a silent symbol of forbidden paths yet to be walked. Sophia paused beneath the amber glow of a street lamp, her eyes reflecting the constellation of the city's light and shadow. The pendant warmed against her chest, a secret weight, a fragile hope, or perhaps a warning. Her breath misted in the chill night air as the pulse of the city echoed the unsteady rhythm of her heart. In that solitary moment, Sophia stood on the edge of revelation and ruin, poised between the life she knew and the secrets that beckoned from the shadows. The cold rush of nighttime air wrapped Sophia as she stepped through the revolving doors of her apartment building, the harsh voices and disapproving glances from the auction room still pressing against her skin like a weight. The city's distant hum was muted here, replaced by the quiet drip of a leaking faucet somewhere in the building's aging plumbing, a steady, weary drip echoing in the hollow chamber of her mind. Her heels clicked softly against the polished floorboards, each step measured, resisting the tremor beneath. The slender pendant tucked beneath her blouse clicked lightly against her collarbone, a reminder of legacies whispered across generations, veiled in mystery and silence. She pressed her fingers against it, the cold metal a stark contrast to the warmth rising in her cheeks from humiliation. The living room loomed before her, shadows pooling in corners where the dim light struggled to reach. She sank into the worn leather armchair by the window overlooking the restless, neon-lit streets. The city's pulse whispered beneath the glass ambition, danger, and dark promises entwined in the towering silhouettes. Her thoughts spiraled, the client's cold dismissal looping relentlessly. Sentiment doesn't set market prices, his words like jagged knives embedded in her confidence. She longed to scream back, to shatter their polished facades with the truth, but silence had become her refuge and cage all at once. A sudden flicker of movement caught her eye, a red rose pressed between the pages of a book on the coffee table. She reached for it, feeling the delicate petals warm beneath her touch, the symbolism of forbidden love and passion igniting a spark within her. Yet the room felt too confining, the night too heavy. Sophia stood, the pendant swinging gently as she moved toward the window. Below, shadowed alleyways carved their secrets into the heart of the city, dangerous whispers drifting upward. The urban elegance she'd once admired now looked like a stage set for unseen battles, alliances forged and shattered beneath the weight of betrayal. Her breath fogged the cool glass as she pressed her forehead against it, the city's cool blue light casting stark shadows across her determined face. Doubt pressed inward, yet beneath it, a flicker of resolve began to glow, a whispered promise beneath the sting of scorn. The pendant pulsed faintly at her throat, as if alive, urging her to dig deeper, to uncover the stories hidden beneath layers of silence and deception. She stepped back from the window, eyes catching a folded paper slipped into the family Bible on the shelf, unopened yet calling with the weight of secrets poised to rewrite her fate. As the ambient city light shifted from cold blue to the warm flicker of neon signs pulsing in the streets, Sophia's lips curved briefly, a fleeting, fragile smile. The humiliation was still raw, but beneath it, something stubborn had taken root, a hunger for truth and a hunger for life that no dismissal could extinguish. Her gaze returned to the pendant, the heirloom that was both anchor and compass, and the faintest click echoed in the dark room, the sound of a latch sliding open, the beginning of an invitation into the unknown. Outside, the city whispered promises of danger and desire, illuminated in red the color of passion, warning, and the impossible love that lay ahead. The apartment was cloaked in shadows, pierced only by the cold blue glow of the city lights filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. Sophia sat on the edge of a weathered leather armchair, her fingers absently tracing the familiar curve of the family pendant nestled against her chest. It was heavy tonight, not just with metal and age, but with the weight of unspoken truths and buried histories. The air was thick with the scent of old paper and cedarwood from the crowded bookshelf that lined one wall. Sophia stood and made her way over, fingertips grazing faded spines and crinkled pages, absorbed by the silence settling after the storm of rejection. Her mind drifted back to the auction room, the client's cruel dismissal echoing like a cruel refrain, slicing through the fragile veil of hope she had clung to. She knelt before a low wooden chest, its grain worn smooth with time, and began pulling out letters, photographs, and faded trinkets that had belonged to her late grandmother. Each piece whispered fragments of a world she barely understood but felt tethered to by blood and silent promise. The pendant, a familiar symbol of her lineage, rested heavy in her palm as she uncovered a faded velvet pouch hidden beneath yellowed letters. Inside was an ornate box carved from dark wood, its smooth surface ominous and inviting. She opened it carefully, revealing a smaller pendant encrusted with ancient symbols and a hint of something deeper, a secret concealed beneath layers of time and silence. A soft, almost imperceptible hum seemed to vibrate from the pendant, settling into her skin like a quiet pulse. Sophia's eyes widened as her fingers traced a delicate inscription on the underside, whispered in a language half remembered but wholly mysterious. Her breath caught. The room shifted, the shadows danced not as threats, but as guardians of stories untold. A stray shaft of crimson light caught the facet of a hidden compartment, flickering like a red rose in bloom amidst the dark. Suddenly, the silence was shattered by the faint ring of her phone. She pocketed the pendant and answered. Marco, she breathed, the name carrying both the thrill of danger and the sting of uncertainty. Their whispered conversation was cloaked in coded concern, a fragile thread connecting her present with the perilous unfolding future. She sank back onto the chair, heart pounding not from fear but a raw, thrilling awareness of the path laid before her. The pendant gleamed faintly in the soft light, a key to secrets that promised both salvation and ruin. Outside, rain began to tap softly against the window, an urgent rhythm echoing the surge within Hera call to uncover the shadows behind the city's elegant facade. As the pendant caught the faintest glow, Sophia's eyes burned with new determination. This was no longer just about proving worth. It was about reclaiming a legacy, unraveling the threads of mystery entwined with forbidden love and deadly betrayal. The night deepened, and with it, the promise of revelation that could shatter or save everything. Her silhouette framed by the window's cold outline, Sophia clutched the pendant closely, a fragile beacon in the encroaching darkness, poised at the cusp of danger and desire. The city streets glistened under a sudden tremble of rain, each droplet a cold kiss on Sophia's skin as she emerged from the shadowed doorway of a cramped research library on a narrow, rain-slick alley. The overcast sky hovered low, a heavy curtain of slate blue dimming the pallid light that tried to claim the day. Sophia's keen gaze flickered beyond the steaming manholes. Urban steam blended with the musky scent of wet stone, stirring a pulse of restless mystery within her. Clutched tightly in her gloved hand was the ancient pendant, weighty and real, its cold metal pressing encouragement against the fabric of her coat. The heirloom had become a beacon, both anchor and enigma, tethering her to a legacy tangled with darkness. Her heartbeat echoed the city, agitated yet deliberate, in electric rhythm riding the line between fear and fierce resolve. Inside the library, hours had slipped by, dust motes swirling in shafts of stark white light, the rhythmic tap of keys and the rustling of brittle pages composing a murmur of secret revelations. Sophia's eyes traced cryptic entries and faded stamps, weaving threads of truth from the labyrinthine records. Each finding drew her closer to a perilous world, the whispers of the Russo crime family lurking in forbidden footnotes, shadowy names inked next to her ancestors' forgotten dealings. Her breath caught at a faded ledger, ink smudged but unmistakably real. Giovanni Russo. Power. Bloodlines intertwined with history and treachery. A distant siren waylaid, a sharp contrast to the quiet solemnity of the library, but Sophia did not stir. Every cell bristled with a growing storm. She was no longer a diffuse shadow on the city's periphery but a pawn in a dark game, with stakes that transcended her scholarly pursuits. Her fingers brushed the pendant as if drawing strength from its cold surface. "This isn't just history," she whispered to the dim, "it's a warning." The sound of hurried footsteps outside broke the reverie of fleeting tension that drew her gaze to the rain-darkened window. A black sedan idled briefly before slipping into the fading mist, its presence a silent menace etched in the soft onset of night. Her phone buzzed, Marco's name flashing sharply against the screen, emblematic of danger and desire intertwined. She swiped reluctantly, the thread between caution and curiosity tightening. "Are you safe?" she typed, her words fragile yet resolute. The reply was quick, succinct, but laden with unspoken meaning, "Not yet." By the time Sophia stepped back into the damp streets, the city had transformed into a cathedral of shadows, where every alley whispered secrets and every glint of neon masked unseen eyes. The weight of the pendant pulsed against her heart, a fiery promise of discoveries and dangers yet to come. Ahead, the faint scent of a red rose perfumed the stolen symbol of forbidden love bleeding through the urban frost. Sophia's gaze hardened with determination. Beneath the cold veneer of the metropolis lay a pulse strong enough to consume or redeem. With one last glance at the pulsating pendant, Sophia silenced the roar inside her and stepped into the embrace of the night, unknown, uncertain, but fiercely alive. The scene held in a suspended beat, the city's shadows shifting enigmatically as a pair of eyes watched from a distant rooftop, the first hint of the complicity and conflict that would unravel the delicate balance of love and betrayal. The gala hall shimmered beneath a chandelier's cold crystal tiers, splintering light into fragmented rainbows that danced on the velvet and silk garments of a crowd steeped in decadence and murmurs of danger. Sophia stood at the periphery, her slender form clothed in elegance but tightened by uncertainty, the ancient pendant nestled beneath her blouse, a secret heartbeat against her skin. Voices flowed around her like a river of polished words, whispers of power, betrayal, and uneasy alliances. Each polished smile seemed laced with shadow, every glance a subtle measure of threat or desire. The air was thick with perfume and menacing intoxicating haze that both beckoned and repelled. Then he emerged, Marco Russa, talented heir to an empire built on violence and mystery. His dark eyes held fires that flickered with danger and promise. Approaching her, that dangerous warmth wrapped Sophia in a shroud vibrating with electric tension. "Looking for something precious, Sophia?" Marco's voice was velvet-coated steel. She met his gaze, a fragile defiance igniting beneath. "Truth," she whispered, fingers grazing the pendant, and perhaps a way forward. Marco's smile was an enigma, both invitation and warning. Their words danced on a knife's edge, fraught with unspoken histories and the weight of unacknowledged feelings. Around them, the gala continued, a symphony of glass clinking, hushed schemes, and laughter laced with veiled threats. Sophia's pulse quickened, heart pounding against the fragile cage of her chest as she navigated the perilous spaces between desire and danger. Later, beneath the gallery's cold lights, Sophia's research deepened. Fractured documents and coded letters spoke of alliances tying her family's past to the underworld's present. Each revelation tightened the noose of risk but also illuminated the path to truth. Suddenly, footsteps echoed close and sharp. A figure slipped through the shadows, intercepting Sophia, warning veiled in the grip of a hand too firm. "Careful, Sophia. This path is treacherous," a gravelly voice cautioned, as fleeting as smoke. Reeling, she caught a glimpse of eyes calculating, unreadable, and then they dissolved into the crowd. Alone, Sophia stood amid swirling currents of fear and resolve. The pendant pulsed faintly, heavier now with the promise of secrets unraveled. The city's cool breath brushed her skin, carrying whispers of love forbidden and danger looming. The camera lingered on her face, a portrait of determination shadowed by doubt. Her fingers clenched the pendant tightly. Suddenly, a faint commotion disrupted the gala's veneer. A secret meeting overheard words slicing through the air, referencing plots and threats tied to Marco's name. Sophia's eyes widened, the fragile threads of trust unraveling into a labyrinth of uncertainty and peril. The scene froze, a piercing glance, a sharp breath, the night poised between revelation and ruin. And beneath the moon's cold stare, the city held its breath, awaiting the impending storm that neither love nor loyalty could easily withstand. The grand ballroom glittered beneath a canopy of crystal chandeliers, their light fractured into shards reflecting off the polished marble and swirling smoke. Sophia stepped cautiously through the crowd, every step haunted by a heartbeat that was both thrilling and terrifying. The red rose pinned delicately to her lapel seemed to pulse in harmony with the deep, seductive bass that throbbed beneath layers of whispered secrets. The air was electric with danger and desire, every gleam in the eye of the elegant guests concealing a chess move in a deadly game. Sophia's gaze fixed on Marco across the room, his silhouette sharply cut by the pale blue spotlight, arrogant and magnetic. Their eyes met briefly, promise and warning tangled in that charged instant, and a subtle shift stirred inside Sophia's ribs, tightening like a noose but igniting a flame. She moved, weaving through clusters of whispered words, until she stood beside him at the edge of the crowd where the shadows gathered. His hand brushed hers, a tentative connection charged with unspoken fears and forbidden longing. "There are things you don't know," Marco murmured, his voice low and urgent against the backdrop of hushed plotting. The buzz of the gala faded as Sophia's attention narrowed to the whispered meeting unfolding in the far corner, shadows merging into conspiratorial shapes. Her pulse quickened as fragments of conversation slipped through, betrayals, vengeance, and a plot that threatened to unravel everything. Sophia's fingers tightened around the pendant concealed beneath her blouse, the sapphire gleaming like the eye of an ancient storm. It was the key, the secret tether to truths dangerous and surreal, binding her fate inexorably to the shadowy world that Marco inhabited. Suddenly, the sharp clang of a spilled glass pierced the night, and Sophia's head snapped toward a figure emerging from the shadows with a dangerous smile and a hidden blade. Marco was at her side in an instant, his protective embrace a fierce promise against the encroaching darkness. "Stay close," he whispered, pulling her into the labyrinth of hidden corridors beyond the gala's glittering facade. The weight of betrayal pressed upon Sophia as secrets twisted the night into a treacherous dance of trust and deception. Yet even in the labyrinth of danger, her heart beat with a determination that defied the darkness. The scene blurred, fading in and out of sharp focus the gleam of the pendant, a stolen kiss beneath dim street lamps, Marco's shadow shielding her from unseen threats. In a fleeting moment, Sophia realized the cruel paradox. Love was as perilous as it was intoxicating, and her journey to the truth was bound inseparably with the risk of losing everything. Final whispers echoed as a clandestine meeting was overheard, words that shattered illusions and tipped the scales. Marco was not only heir to a dynasty but a pawn and player in a deadly plot that cut deeper than Sophia had imagined. Her breath hitched. The pendant's glow pulsed beneath her fingers, a beacon in the encroaching darkness. "What have I walked into?" she murmured, the question hanging heavy as the ballroom's opulence gave way to the chilling embrace of truth. And in the shadows, the Watcher smiled, a secret meeting whose revelation would ignite the flames of betrayal and propel Sophia into a perilous spiral between love and survival. Rain slashed against the cold, unforgiving walls of the derelict warehouse where Sophia found herself captive, the dim light flickering as if uncertain to reveal the decay it swallowed whole. The air was thick with damp and despair, every breath heavy like a fracture widening unseen. Bound by shadows and betrayal, Sophia sat slumped on the cracked concrete floor, her slender frame dwarfed by the looming darkness. Her signature pendant, once a beacon of family secrets and hidden paths, lay in her palm, weightless now, its cold metal biting against her skin, an ironic reminder of promises broken. Outside, thunder muttered low like a distant menace, while water pooled silently around her, tracing chilling paths like tearing veins. Silence suffocated the space between the distant clatter of footsteps and the errant drip of a leaking pipe. Sophia's emerald eyes, fierce but dulled by the unrelenting weight of disillusionment, gazed at the shadows in the corners, places where trust had once lived but now housed only echoes. Her thoughts were a tangled web, knotting with every memory of Marco's smile, his touch, and the darker truths that lurked beneath. A crack in the concrete floor caught her eye, a jagged fracture spreading, like the fissures tearing through her heart and resolve. The crimson light flickering from the pendant caught the dull gleam of a rusted nail, a tender, fragile hint of life amidst the ruin. Her breath came shallow, fragmented by uncertainty and raw fear. The weight of betrayal pressed like chains forged in silence, and yet beneath the devastation stirred an ember, faint, flickering but unmistakable. The distant scrape of boots echoed closer, a reminder of the dangerous world from which she had tried to shield herself. Sophia's fingers tightened on the pendant as she whispered into the cold, "How did love turn so dark?" Outside the edifice, rain drummed with relentless despair, the storm a mirror to her spiraling soul. The alley seemed endless, a maze woven with secrets, lies, and unspoken fears. Sophia's silhouette, framed by the fractured light, shrank into itself, a fragile figure poised at the edge of oblivion. The city's pulse, once vibrant beneath the stars, now felt distant and muted, swallowed by the encroaching void. As thunder rolled overhead, the scene froze on her bowed head, a portrait of loss where hope frayed and destiny hung by a thread. The world darkened, silence deepened, and the journey through shadow began in earnest. The room was consumed by shadows, thick and unyielding, swallowing every glimmer of light until even the faintest breath of hope seemed a distant memory. Sophia sat huddled against the cold, damp concrete wall, the coarse chill seeping through her thin blouse and searing into her bones. Her auburn hair, once carefully styled, was tangled and wet, clinging to her pale skin like a shroud drawn tight around a fragile flame struggling to endure the night. Beyond the barred window, the city's skyline was a blur beneath the relentless rain, the towering monoliths cloaked in sheets of mist and shadows. Occasional flashes of distant neon punctuated the gloom, fleeting and hollow in their brilliance. The cries of sirens and the muffled hum of traffic were swallowed by the oppressive silence that wrapped itself around Sophia's solitude like a suffocating veil. Her fingers trembled as they traced the cold, familiar contours of the pendant resting against her chest. The heirloom, once a source of strength and connection to the past, now felt like dead weight, a relic of secrets too heavy to bear. She closed her eyes, the darkness behind her lids as vast and cavernous as the prison that held her. A single tear traced a path down her cheek, mingling with the dirt and rain that had stained her face. A red rose, once vibrant and alive in her thoughts, now lay crushed and forgotten in the corner, a stark symbol of a love tainted by betrayal and danger. The petals, soggy and disheveled, mirrored the unraveling of her own spirit. The distant pacing of footsteps outside the door echoed with a hollow cadence, each step a reminder that time dragged relentlessly onward, indifferent to her suffering. Sophia's breath came in shallow gasps as fragments of trust and hope shattered like fragile glass within her heart. She whispered into the cold air, voice barely more than a breath, "Why does love burn so fiercely only to consume?" The pendant pressed coldly against her ribcage, an unyielding heartbeat amidst the desolation. Shadows danced across the cracked walls, flickering like ghosts of promises broken and alliances betrayed. Outside, thunder rumbled low, reverberating through the room like a mournful lament for what was lost. Sophia's body curled tighter, retreating into herself as the weight of isolation and despair settled deep. The room's silence became an abyss, vast and unending, swallowing every hope until there was nothing left but a fragile, flickering resistance. And then, as the rain continued its ceaseless song against the distant glass, the world held its breath, poised at the edge of collapse, teetering between darkness and a dawn yet to come. Inside the dim cell, the faint hum of the city beyond the concrete walls seemed miles away, swallowed by the dense silence that filled the room. Sophia lay curled on the cold floor, the heirloom pendant resting heavy against her chest, its intricate engravings obscured in the shadows. The weight of betrayal pressed upon her like the thick walls enclosing her claustrophobic, unforgiving. Her breath came shallow, mingling with the stale air and the distant echoes of footsteps fading down cold corridors. The pendant's faint glow, once a source of comfort, now flickered like the last ember of a dying fire. As her fingers traced its contour, memories flickered, flashes of cautious laughter with Marco, whispered promises in shadowed rooms, and the stark light of cold truths unveiled. The once vibrant red of a rose lay crushed beneath the chipped windowsill nearby, its petals bruised and darkened, mirroring the torn fabric of Sophia's heart and trust. The scent, faint yet persistent, wound through the stillness, a haunting reminder of love's fragility amidst danger. A distant murmur, barely audible, stirred within her. It was the faintest echo of a conversation she had glimpsed, a secret meeting in dark alleys, plans whispered under the cover of night that named Marco not just as the heir, but as a pawn in Giovanni's cruel game. Sophia's eyelids fluttered open, her green eyes glistening with a mixture of pain and unresolved questions. Love had once felt like a refuge. Now it was a labyrinthine trap, each thread knotted with betrayal and peril. Her fingers gripped the pendant tighter, the cold metal biting into her skin, grounding, reminding her of the legacy she bore and the fight she could not abandon. In the silence, a soft tapping, the heartbeat of her resolve, began to echo through the hollow chamber. Sophia rose slowly, a fragile strength gathering with each measured breath. The rain outside had ceased, the city's neon glow filtering through the barred window like spectral guardians watching over the broken and the brave. She reached into a hidden compartment within the pendant, fingers trembling to reveal a folded letter, yellowed with age but swirling with cryptic symbols. The fragile paper seemed to pulse with possibility, a whispered promise of truths yet to be unearthed, of alliances hidden beneath layers of deceit. A solitary tear traced a path down her cheek, mingling grief with the faintest spark of hope. "Not yet," she whispered to the stillness, an unspoken vow threading through the dark. The camera held on the pendant glowing softly in her palm, a beacon against the night as Sophia faced the uncertain road ahead, a path where love, danger, and redemption intertwined beneath the unforgiving city lights. The darkness that had swallowed Sophia's resolve seemed to retreat like a shadow pushed back by the faintest glimmer of dawn. Soft light seeped into the room, casting warm shades of amber across the chipped walls and battered furniture, transforming the oppressive gloom into a fragile promise of renewal. Her chest rose and fell slowly, each breath a plea for clarity amid chaos. On the battered wooden table lay the pendant, the heirloom that had once symbolized family secrets and forbidden love. It gleamed softly, untouched by the chaos that had shattered her world. Sophia reached out slowly, her fingertips trembling as they brushed the cold metal. The weight of the past pressed against her palm, but so did the faint whisper of hope. Outside the window, the city stirred slowly. The streets, now bathed in a gentle pink hue, beckoned with the promise of new beginnings. The distant sirens and honking cars were distant echoes, drowned beneath the quiet hum of the awakening city, a stark contrast to the relentless storm of betrayal and fear that had nearly consumed her. In the faint glow of dawn, Sophia's eyes flickered with a tentative flicker of recognition, the realization that she still carried within her the strength to fight, to uncover truths buried beneath layers of deception. The pendant, a symbol of bloodlines and secrets, now became her talisman, a beacon to guide her through the thickening fog of doubt. A faint rustle from the corner of the room drew her attention. She turned slowly, eyes searching the shadows as a delicate breeze slipped through the cracked window, stirring the remnants of dust motes caught in beams of catching morning light. It was as if nature itself was whispering a pledge: break free from darkness, embrace the future. She clutched the pendant close to her heart, feeling its weight not just of family secrets, but of newfound resolve. Her lips pressed into a thin line as she gathered the worn papers and photographs scattered across the table, pieces of a past that refused to stay hidden. Every fragment told a story, one she now dared to face. Her reflection flickered in the glass, a silent testament to resilience. The shadows that had haunted her now seemed to retreat, dissolving into the edge of dawn. The cold, stark room, once a chamber of despair, began to glow with a gentle warmth, hinting at the promise of change. With a slow, deliberate breath, Sophia reached out and clasped the pendant around her neck, a quiet vow that her journey was far from over, but that the fight had begun anew. Outside, the city's pulse quickened, life stirring with quiet determination, echoing her awakening. The camera lingered on her silhouette, bathed in the early light, poised on the brink of action, a fragile hope blooming within. The shadows eased back, revealing a face tempered by pain but now shining with the tentative glow of possibility. Her eyes, still cautious but alive with a flicker of purpose, stared into a future unwritten, ready to be claimed. The dawn broke over the city with a muted yet resolute glow, casting long golden rays that penetrated the alleyways and punctuated the shadows that clung to the crumbling facades. Sophia moved through the quiet streets, her footsteps deliberate and steady, each step a determined beat echoing her resolve to confront the darkness that had ensnared her and Marco. The heirloom pendant pressed warm beneath her fingers, now a symbol of her metamorphosis, once a relic of secrets and vulnerability, now a talisman of strength. Its intricate carvings seemed to shimmer in the early light, whispering promises of justice and love reborn. As she approached the meeting point, a dimly lit plaza where secrets brooded behind closed doors, her heart thrummed with measured anticipation. The city's pulse, muted and steady, synchronized with her newfound purpose. She was no longer a pawn in the shadows but a force gathering toward truth. Marco's figure appeared in the distance, his eyes like dark pools reflecting both danger and hope. Their brief exchange was silent but powerful, a shared recognition that they had crossed a threshold, no longer bound by fear but propelled by the courage of conviction. "The truth is a blade," Sophia whispered, her voice trembling but unwavering. "And I will wield it." Marco nodded, a flicker of admiration passing between them. The city seemed to hold its breath as the two stepped into the heart of the conspiracy, each glance, each movement steeped in purpose. Suddenly, a flicker of movement in their peripheral vision, a shadow darting across the alley, reminded them of the peril lurking just beyond the edge of sight. The threat was still alive, the danger coiled and ready to strike. The pendant's glow intensified, a luminous heartbeat guiding her through the labyrinth of deception. Every gleam reflected her resolve, every shadow a test, every breath a step closer to justice. In that moment, Sophia's mind flooded with clarity: the bloodline, the betrayals, the love that challenged all odds. She understood that the greatest victory lay not in silence but in revelation, in standing tall when chaos threatened to consume everything. The city's awakening light cast long shadows that danced behind her, creating a tapestry of possibility and peril. Her eyes lifted toward the rising sun, the horizon awash with the promise of a new day, a new beginning. And as the scene faded, her silhouette was framed against the dawn, a symbol of resilience, forging strength from despair, ready to ignite the final chapter of her journey. The dawn shattered the horizon with an explosion of fiery orange and soft gold, illuminating the city's skyline in a way that felt almost divine. Sophia stood atop the rooftop of a crumbling warehouse, her silhouette framed by the rising Suna lighthouse amidst fog and chaos. The air was thick with the scent of rain-washed concrete and unspoken promises, as if the very atmosphere was rewriting itself in her favor. Clad in a sleek black jacket that reflected the early morning light, her hand rested over her heart, clutching the heirloom pendant. Its intricate carvings shimmered with a fierce, almost hypnotic glow, an ancient talisman of family secrets, now an emblem of her transformation. Her green eyes, steadfast, fierce, finally clear of doubt, tracked the awakening city, every line of her poised figure radiating purpose. The storm of her past, the betrayals, the heartbreak, those shadows now seemed distant, mere echoes in the dawn's light. Sophia's jaw tightened as she moved toward the edge, her gaze piercing the horizon. The city sprawled beneath her like a living tapestry of possibility and peril, dangerous alleyways and shimmering skyscrapers entwined, reflecting her own tangled journey. Her voice was barely a whisper but carried the weight of unshakable resolve. "This is the dawn I fought for." Her fingers brushed the pendant, a silent oath sealed in the glow of sunrise, on affirmation that she was no longer a pawn, no longer a silent witness to her destiny but a true architect of her future. The city's awakening mirrored her own rebirth, shadows retreating before the surging light, fears dissolving amid a chorus of hope. Below, in the depths of the city, faint shadows stirred the unseen eyes of Giovanni Russo, watching, waiting. But Sophia had stepped beyond his reach, her heart no longer tethered to darkness or betrayal. With a deep breath, she let her hand fall away, feeling the pulse of life coursing through her veins. Around her, the city exhaled a breath held in anticipation of what she'd already claimed: her truth, her future, her love. The camera slowly panned out, capturing her standing resilient and regal against the dawn, an image of strength, rebirth, and the relentless pursuit of justice and love. In that silence, before the final moments, the sunrise signaled a new beginning, victory not merely of the flesh but of the spirit. The morning light spilled softly over the city skyline, casting a warm, golden glow that felt almost surreal after the nights of shadows and danger. Sophia stood at the edge of the rooftop, her silhouette framed against the awakening dawn, the faint mist curling around her shoes like a gentle embrace. In her hand, she held the heirloom pendant, its intricate carvings catching shimmering reflections in the early light, symbols of secrets and sacrifices now laid bare. Beneath her, the sprawling city awoke, streets humming with life, windows glowing, and the distant hum of traffic echoing like a heartbeat of hope. The chaos of the past days still lingered in her mind, But here, amidst the soft glow of dawn, something new took root, an unspoken sense of peace, fragile yet undeniable. Her fingers gently brushed against the cool, polished surface of the pendant, feeling the faint pulse of her own heartbeat echoing its rhythm. The tears she had shed earlier felt distant, replaced by a quiet understanding that some truths, once unearthed, were meant not to destroy, but to heal. The weight of betrayal and betrayal's aftermath still bore down marked in her eyes, in the shadows that flickered across her face, but she knew now that she had the strength to move forward. The city stretched out before her, vibrant and alive, yet peaceful in its awakening, every street, every building, a testament to resilience. Sophia took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill her lungs, and slowly lowered her gaze from the horizon to the city below. Her reflection in the glass was a mirror not just of her face, but of her soul, changed, hardened by battles, but unbroken. In that silence, a faint memory stirred, a whispered promise from Marco, their shared moments, and the silent vow they made beneath the stars, the promise to face whatever came with hope in their hearts, no matter how uncertain the path. She gently placed the pendant around her neck, feeling its familiar, steady weight, a symbolic anchor of her journey. Her lips curved into a soft, genuine smile, not of victory, but of acceptance. Acceptance of the past, its scars, and the dawn awaiting beyond the shadows. As the camera panned out, capturing her silhouette against the rising sun and the city's awakening, a sense of peace settled, a quiet acknowledgement that even amidst chaos, truth, love, and hope could find a way to bloom. The scene faded on her contemplative gaze, a visual hymn to resilience, poised at the cusp of a new beginning. Under the gentle wash of dawn, the horizon blushes with hues of soft pink and golden amber, casting a warm glow over the quiet city below. Sophia stands atop a sunlit balcony, her figure serene yet profoundly transformed, the heirloom pendant resting against her collarbone, catching the early light like a promise renewed. Her eyes, once clouded by doubt and fear, now shimmer with a quiet understanding. Freed from the weight of betrayal, she embraces the fragile peace that has begun to bloom within. The city awakens in the distance, its streets stirring with life and hope. The skyscrapers reflect the sunlight, shards of glass and steel piercing the dawn's glow, reminiscent of the shards of her shattered world mended and refracted into something new. Every breath Sophia takes feels lighter, her shoulders unburdened by shadows she no longer carries. The shadows of the past, of betrayal and loss, now simply frame her reflection, part of the canvas of her becoming. She gently touches the pendant, fingers tracing the carved symbols of family secrets and quiet resilience. The soft whisper of the wind carries a faint scent, a mixture of blooming jasmine and the promise of dawn, filling the air with a gentle reminder that renewal is always possible, even after darkness. A delicate smile tugs at her lips, quietly affirming her victory not in conquest, but in acceptance. The turbulent journey had carved deep lines into her soul, but these lines now glow with the light of understanding, forgiveness, and peace. The silent acknowledgement of her growth, of her courage to confront the shadows, echoes through her gentle gaze. Behind her, the world shifts beneath the sunlight, the city pulses with life, love, and unspoken stories. Yet, Sophia stands still, savoring this luminous moment of closure, a cinematic tableau of hope forging through hardship. With one last look at the horizon, symbolic of her voyage from despair to dawn, she turns slowly, her silhouette bathed in the warm embrace of the morning light. A gentle breeze lifts her hair, whispering secrets of new beginnings. As she descends the stairs, her steps are steady, unwavering, her spirit finally free. The scene dissolves into a canvas of serenity, an eternity of dawn and renewal, welcoming her into a future where love and truth reign supreme, forged in the quiet strength of a soul reborn. The first light of dawn spilled softly over the horizon, casting a gentle glow that bathed the city in hues of amber and rose. Sophia and Marco stood atop the highest point of the city, overlooking the sprawling skyline that was both a testament to human achievement and a reminder of the shadows they had escaped. The air was crisp and still, a quiet peace settling over the tumultuous journey they had endured. Sophia's hand gently rested on Marco's arm, their fingers intertwined in silent reassurance. The heirloom pendant hung around her neck, reflecting the early morning light, a symbol of family secrets, love forged through fire, and the resilience of hope. Her eyes, once clouded by doubt and fear, now shimmered with unwavering clarity and acceptance. Below, the city awoke in tranquil rhythm, streetlights dimming as the first rays of sun stretched across alleyways, echoing the dawn of a new chapter. The chaos, betrayals, and battles had carved deep scars within them, but now, like the city, they seemed to shimmer with renewed strength, born from the ashes of their past. A soft breeze caressed her face, carrying whispers of jasmine and the distant hum of life awakening. She took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of her own heartbeats steady and sure, casting aside the shadows that once haunted her. Her shoulders relaxed, and her lips curved into a quiet, genuine smile, a testament to a soul reborn. Marco gently raised her hand, pressing a tender kiss to her fingertips, a silent vow sealed by the morning's serenity. Their silhouettes, bathed in the warm light, played against the city's towering spires, symbols of their defiance, love, and the profound peace they now embraced. In that moment, they shared quiet tears, remnants of pain and joy intertwined before stepping forward into the dawn. The city stretched before them, vast and unwritten, a canvas awaiting their love and courage. A solitary bird soared across the sky, leaving behind a trail through the dawn, a silent testament to their journey, an arc of hope across the boundless sky. The camera lingered, capturing the tender silence and eternal pause before the story's final chapter unfolded, a visual echo of peace that would resonate forever. Have you ever discovered a hidden family heirloom? Share your story below.